So anyways, the main thing is this: if you got a pool right now and you've been thinking about selling, now's the time to call your agent and say, let's get this sucker on the market, because I'm seeing a considerable amount of money being paid for homes with a.
I'm going to put a link to a Kijiji ad in the description of this video for my pool. $10,000 Canadian.
Assemble it yourself.
You have to take it apart and assemble it yourself and dig a hole.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so there's a lot.
Big. That makes sense, but like
we got a lot of things. So okay, I'll give you a few more of them. Home offices.
Sure.
Okay. If you've been doing if you've been trying to work from home with your kids running around the house because you're in an open concept, whatever, you understand and appreciate the home office more than anybody else.
Are there still areas in Toronto that don't have like super high speed internet connections?
No, not in Toronto.
Everyone has either
broadband,
Ignite.
Yeah. What do they call that? Fiber optics and.
So does school area make a difference right now?
Of course. I mean, school has always been I'd say a huge part of every single parent's decision when they're buying. There's some communities in Toronto where the only reason that the prices are the way they are is because of how great the schools are. So that's always going to be something that's never going to change. And I don't think schools are going online or virtual or anything like that. Parents will make sure that they're sending their kids shrink wrapped if they have to, because nobody's going to be taking care of their kids at home, permanently. That's not going to happen. Well, no, I think that there's going to be always a demand for people to be in the right school neighborhood. Kids are our pride and joy, right? So they'll only look in an area that has the school they want, and then they'll find the best house that they can afford in that neighborhood. Plenty of people will rent in an area instead of buying because they can't afford it. That's common, right? So again, the home office is one. School is always there, but I'm talking about COVID trends, right? The COVID trends, and then space. That's the biggest one. That's why we're seeing this luxury market, because if you got 4 kids and you were living in a 3-bedroom bungalow before, maybe it was manageable because you were at work, your wife was at work, the kids were at school, things were happening. There was only a couple hours a day where actually everybody would be home that wasn't sleeping, and you would be faced to deal with the limited space. But now that you've been home so much, and now that you can see, like, man, this is not manageable. And if this lasts longer, if this ever happens again, it's just never an idea that we ever had, where that be forced in our houses, that we'd have to stay home and we weren't able to leave. So because of this pandemic, we're in larger homes coming back into demand. People were actually trending away from larger homes for a while. Even costs
if they
down.
Could afford them.
Families were smaller. I mean, there's always people looking for them, but the modern family, the millennials and people like that, not to label a generation in this way, but there is definitely younger people who were smaller homes instead of the homes that they grew up in, because they didn't feel they needed that formal living room with the French doors. They didn't need the, extra space like, maybe the house that they grew up in. So, they were gearing towards, location, they were gearing towards transit, they were looking at stuff like that as a priority as opposed to space. So we're seeing just a shift back into people saying, well, look, I don't mind if I'm not close to work because I'm going to get a bigger house out in the suburbs or further away from the city because I'm only going to work once a week when this is all done anyways.
So you're talking about the person living at Avenue in Lawrence or Yonge in Lawrence or somewhere in like a 20-footer that has money. It's a nice property. It's a nice place to live. But they're like, this place is just way too tight. We can afford it. Let's go to Thornhill or whatever the hell.
That's a great example of the people who are moving right now.
Because the person that's living in a piece of shit bungalow, like, he's not doing that. Even if his bungalow is like worth $1.4 million because he lives in a good area. Like, there's some people that just have this great property, but they have no money.
Sure. And people, if they can't afford it, they're not going to do it. But you have to, I think everyone underestimates how much money is actually in Toronto and how sort of fiscally responsible some people really are. And they've got no mortgage. They've had no, debt that they didn't need to carry. They've got, basically their minimum needs, especially people if they're coming from, other parts of the world where, Canadian standards are a little bit different. So now they're saying, well, look, I can afford this. I can get a mortgage. I can have anything that I really want
Yeah.
here. And it wasn't so important to me 6 months ago, but
Yeah.
now having that extra bedroom, that extra washroom, that main floor office, that
Big yard,
pool,
pool.
bigger square footage, whatever it is, would really be nice right now. So why am I torturing myself and staying in this property just to avoid debt or just to keep my money? Also,
Or
if you
to
have money
say I
in
live
investments in
here.
the stock market, take it out of the stock market because, like you said, it's going all over the place. Take it out of the stock market and put it into real estate, something that is more stable, that you can touch and feel, that you feel confident in, and that's what Toronto people have, is they have confidence in the real estate market long term. We know it goes up and down. We know there's issues, but long term, Toronto real estate market performs. It is secure. It is
Yeah.
safe. Put your money in and wait. You know, so
Seems
there's
like a
there.
very educated market. Like it seems like it's hard to have a conversation with anybody in Toronto that doesn't somehow segue into the real estate market.
Right.
It's like
Topic
it's a
numero
thing.
uno.
It's like a serious thing. It's like the entertain. It's like, did you watch this show? Like people talk about the real estate.
Yeah,
No,
Game
seriously.
of Thrones. If you didn't know about
Can
Game of
you
Thrones, and that was
believe these prices? It's crazy.
yeah,
Like, can you
yeah,
believe what they're building? Oh my! It's
yeah,
actually amazing.
yeah.
There's some crazy shit going on in the city too with building.